Okay, this is Pablo, and I'm Laurie Rosenwald. And I've done a show in Paris, and Pablo helped me very much to set it up and to make all the things in it. So I'm going to give him the camera and talk a little bit about the show.
So tell me about the show.
I'm so glad you asked. This wall has a lot of red, white, and blue things, and I just gave a talk about color, which is something that obsesses me. And I think that red and blue are extremely sophisticated, and that some people think they're only the American flag or the French flag. If you look around the gallery, you'll see that there is a lot of very clean colors. There, I'll show you in a minute, there's some things all framed in yellow, and then I have some frames here in red and green and pink. This series is done on mouse pads that I got from IKEA. There's an IKEA theme here, which is kind of funny because I live in Sweden part-time. So when I couldn't find the right supports or the right, canvas or wood or whatever, I had to have things to be transportable because I did some of them in Sweden, some in New York, etc. So I went to the IKEA in New York and in Sweden and in Paris, and I found the same products, and I used them, mostly the tops of storage lids, and I used them for a lot of the supports on the collages. So these, and also these interesting little lamps were found at IKEA, the clock. But this painting I did quite a few years ago. I think I did it in Sweden, which is oil on canvas, and there's very few of those. Some of them were sent back to New York. It's a long story, but the French postal system is kind of responsible for the lightness and freshness of the show, which I put together quite quickly in some cases. Some of the work here is done on mouse pads, which I also found at IKEA, and then I used some things from old magazines to make collages. This is a poem that is also in my book called All the Wrong People Have Self-Esteem. And these pages are in French, and the translation is, I am who I am made like this, what more do you want? What do you want from me? Which I think is the best poem ever, because it's all about, the Popeye philosophy. I am what I am. This toilet, I will demonstrate, is 2 collages. And there's absolutely no hidden meaning with the toilet. It's just that I thought it was a beautiful shape, also found at IKEA, and I thought it is a frame, and you get 2 for 1. So I think that if you want to think about the toilet being a toilet, that's fine, but it's not what I intend. I just like the shape of it. Then here we have a scale, and for reasons of my own, I made this scale where you have different choices. You can be gorgeous, cute, pretty, lovely, not beautiful, I forgot that for some reason, and sexy. You can be all these things.
So tell me, why did you choose to use in this part of the exhibition these colors? I mean, blue, it's more blue and red. And we'll see after that in the other side you used more yellow or...
Well, I always like blue and red together. And like I said, I just think they're made to be together. They're sophisticated. And like the toilet, I don't have the patriotic associations that some people have. I want to show you something that's in the window here. This I made on a storage lid. And it says, collage is a way of life. And I certainly believe that, both, well, I guess you'd say psychically and physically and in many different ways. I really believe in taking things from different worlds and putting them together. And the fact that I live part-time in Sweden and part-time in America, and that I travel a bit and the show is in France, I think is also a kind of collage. The most collage thing in the world is, well, I look at anything really. Yeah, I'll look at this again. The shapes of the letters, like if you look at the word life, it's a very sort of normal typeface, something like News Gothic or, alternate Gothic. This is accidents, etc. This is an artier one. But there's something organic about it, meaning that the O is cut out. It's not perfect. But what it comes from is perfect. So that I like things that have a perfection and a tradition and a conservative quality, or a strict quality, or graphic quality, or computer quality, which is juxtaposed with something that has an organic, out of control, loose quality. So that's also to do with collage, meaning not one thing, but several things is what's interesting. Let's look over here. Just briefly, let's look at these vitrines, these windows that are part of this gallery, which is so architecturally idiosyncratic. The gallery itself is kind of a collage. So these are some of the things I did on mouse pads. And then these are some things that are jokes, which I translated into French with some help. Basically, this one says, "Ça suffit comme ça, l'hummus," I don't know how to say that, ask Pablo.
Hummus.
Hummus, de pois chiche, meaning enough with the hummus already. It's sort of, you know, there's hummus sort of everywhere, at least in America, at parties. And this one says, "J'espère que les choses sont mieux que je le pense," which is sort of, I hope things are better than I think they are, which for some reason makes sense to me. Here's a real true story that happened to me, which is this woman, which is sort of me saying, "Where's the clothes for the big, fat, ugly ladies?" And the woman at the department store says, on the ninth floor. These are the mouse pad ones. That's my favorite mouse pad one with the orange hair. I like orange very much. This next one is from my book, where the bee says to the flower, "Are you ready?" Perhaps for obvious reasons. This is one of my favorite paintings that I ever made. I don't know whether they're cherries on a plate or on a table. I'm really not interested. I just like it for its abstract qualities. One of the few oil paintings in the show. While we're here, let's look at the drawers. This unique gallery has these drawers all along one wall. So we filled all the drawers with different colors of paper because I love solid colors.
Why do you like so much solid colors? Because you always use really like colors really
Bright?
Yeah, really bright.
I don't know. I think it's a very positive thing. I like the purity of, you know, bright red, bright blue, yellow. I don't like the in-betweeny. I wrote this story called Mutant Bastard Yucky Colors of the Apocalypse, which I just read at a little lecture here. And it's about how a lot of the colors, at least in America, have been perverted by gray and the in-betweeniness of the postmodern. I sort of blame Michael Graves, even though I don't really know if it's his fault. But I like clean colors that, you know, hello blue, how are you? You know, things like that. You know what to call them. You know what they are. When you point to them, you can say what it is. Okay, let's look at this wall of yellows. Now, Pablo had something to do with the yellow. You want to tell us what it is?
I don't know if I can explain it as well as you, but yellow had, because I'm half Colombian, yellow has something to do with Colombia, where it's a very important symbolic color. So maybe that gave you an idea when we talked about.
It absolutely did. And I'm really glad it's not a color that I'm used to using. This is the big blonde on blonde, which maybe has something to do with my Swedish experience. Or, you know, I made this blonde thing and the frame was blonde, so it was blonde in a blonde frame. And then if you look at some of these smaller yellow pictures, the one on the lower right says this is like prostitution without the sex or the money, which I always think is, well, actually when I was trying to do comedy, I felt like that. I would go to these nightclubs and make everybody laugh and then go home. But illustration is a little bit like that, because I've worked as an illustrator and designer as well as a painter. And when you do illustration, there's a lot of changes, there's a lot of suffering that goes on, and not a lot of money. So that's a kind of commentary on that. People make you do things over and over and over.
And the computer.
And the computer this is an actual illustration that I did. Oops. This is an illustration that I did for Atlantic Monthly. This one here. But this was completely inspired that we saw at IKEA or IKEA, depending where you come from. This top of a, you know, trash can. And so we got that and made a Mac out of it. So, yeah, I guess you can see that part. And they have the ports for the USB, etc. and for the headphones. and then you see the keyboard maybe. But this is a drawing that I did because when I was in Iceland, where I've spent some time, I saw this beautiful rainbow and this waterfall, and I swear to God, I just thought, it's so gay, you know, the rainbow thing. And I thought that was kind of funny. Life not being imitating art, but something like that. Or maybe it's art imitating life. In any case, that's what I thought. Some of the pages are from my books. Like sometimes I feel like I don't deserve bottled water, is a comment from my new book. Danish Modern was a kill drawing, something I did for a Sidara story in the New Yorker. Let's look over here real quick to these ladies here. Because I'm in Paris, I did this series of the ladies of the different arrondissements, the different neighborhoods in Paris. And of course I had a lot of help in terms of asking people, what is the typical 16e, what is the typical 20e or 5e woman? I mean, I lived here for 2 years, but you really have to know Paris to know these things. The 16e is my favorite. She's sort of a conservative woman, very well dressed with a headband and, you know, maybe of a certain age, a nice scarf. The 18e is this beautiful black woman, very bright colors and exotically dressed. Le 6e is Marie-Victoire herself, the owner of the gallery. Then if we look over here, these are some paintings I did a while ago, oil paintings on canvas. I don't know what to say about them. This one on the left with the yellow is a portrait of a friend in Sweden. And then on the right, it's some kind of a mysterious factory. If you look over here, in these shelves, we have some very abstract collages, very simple. And we have another, oops, I'll get it, or I'll get it. Bonjour.
Hello.
Hello, c'est toi.
Eh oui.
We're making a film. Just a minute.
Ah.
This is.
How are you?
I'm very well.
I'm very sorry to have.
C'est Gabriel Gauthier. This is the art director that I did the famous Silence, the famous VHV campaign with. We're almost done doing this film, so hang on a minute.
Okay.
He was the one responsible for letting me have the freedom that I did to do that campaign. So these are my books, New York Notebook, and this is how this whole thing happened, because Marie-Victoire liked the book, and she wanted me to do a Paris notebook, which I do intend to do. But I said, you have a gallery, perhaps a show? And that's how it happened. So I think that's about it. Maybe you could pan around the gallery a little bit and see how unusual it is. And you can see Gabriel in all his glory. And voilà.
À bientôt. Je te laisse avec toi.
À bientôt.
Au revoir.
Welcome to Gallery Pixi.
Oh yeah.
Where you can,
I can turn those.
yeah.